Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special episode of Red Stain Radio. I'm one of your hosts, Bryson, and I'm thrilled to be talking with Joy, the artist of the Aching banner from this year's DVD Community Cosmetic Contest. Joy, thank you for being here.
Hi, hello. Yes, it's great to be here too. It's very interesting experience. My first time being in a podcast, and also I'm
Ooh,
looking
that's
forward to our
exciting.
conversation.
Yeah, I am too. I'm super thrilled. I love this banner. The Aching banner was one of my favorites in the finalists, and I cannot wait to see it in game. Uh, just kind of start us out. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? A little bit about your art background. Yeah, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. So my name is Joybilance. You are free to call me as Joy. I'm an illustrator. I have studied primarily in entertainment design, visual development, concept art, that sort of thing. I graduated just recently, actually. Well, not recently, like a few months ago. I don't know if
Well,
that's
congratulations.
recent or not, but thank you. But yeah, right now I'm doing various freelance work for small film directors, content creators, all that kind of stuff, and I'm super excited to be part of the group of artists that won the Dead by Daylight contest.
Yeah,
I
I'm sure.
primarily, oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I'm sure that's exciting. I'm congratulations again. That's got to be thrilling.
Oh yeah, it's definitely it's something, all right.
So how did you react when you learned you were a winner? Kind of what was that situation like? When did you find out?
Uh, oh man, I was actually in the car with my father when I got the email.
Hmm.
That was when I got announced confirmed as finalist, actually, and it was yeah, it was a very big adrenaline rush.
I
And
bet.
then yeah, I mean it was so out of the blue getting these emails, and it was very nerve-wracking. I remember shaking a lot because really I couldn't grasp the idea that I actually won such a big contest like this. So,
What is your relationship with this contest? Was this your first year submitting? Did you submit more? I know I looked around on your portfolio and your kind of your website, and I didn't see any other DVD related submissions. So, was this the first year you submitted, or have you submitted in the past?
yeah, I this is my first time submitting a thing. I always wanted to join the Dead by Daylight cosmetic contest, but because of school and stuff, I got really busy and I couldn't get an entry done in
Of
time.
course.
I've been looking through this contest for the past about 2 or 3 years. Two or three times this contest has been happening, and I really wanted to get something in, but I this year I was able to get it in, and well, yeah, I was very excited that I was able to get something in, and the fact that I won just made it even better. It's yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So are you? I'm assuming you have a fan of DVD. Do you play DVD? Are you more of a fan of it aesthetically, or as not as a player? What's your relationship with the game?
I got to know Dead by Daylight through my friends, actually. My friends are big fans of Dead by Daylight. They've played when back in when we were in high school, I would watch them play all the time. That's how I kind of gotten familiar with Dead by Daylight. That's how I gotten familiar with the sort of gameplay, the aesthetics. I really liked the art direction and the sort of
Hmm.
banner and the banners. I really liked the illustrations and the compositions for all the banners, and of course the collaborations were always fun to watch get unveiled. And so
Absolutely.
I've tried playing the game a couple of times. Unfortunately, my computer isn't very good at processing Dead by Daylight, so I've
Hmm.
been able to play a few rounds. But I've been mostly just, looking at all the new content, looking at all the new illustrations, all the characters, seeing how they play. Yeah.
Are there specific content creators you kind of gravitate towards when you want to watch gameplay, or are you primarily just consuming it from a marketing standpoint?
It's I guess it is just more from a marketing standpoint. I'm kind of in the kind of looking at it from afar.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
really watch any particular Dead by Daylight content creators. I like watching videos about the character's lore. that was something that I watch on my downtime or while I do work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually watched a couple of Dead by Daylight lore videos while I was working on my entry.
Ooh, very nice. Did
So
you get
yeah.
inspiration from those then?
No, it was just mostly to get the vibes that I needed, sort
Mm-hmm.
of, I guess, feel that I should direct my piece towards.
Well, speaking of inspirations, what were your inspirations for the Aching Banner? Because I was looking at your kind of past work on your websites, and it's kind of a different direction than kind of what your other stuff is. So kind of take me through there.
Oh yeah, so it was that in itself was a challenge to sort of to create an illustration with a different perspective of what my illustrations are usually like, because I do a lot of digital painting. I can do a lot of lined illustrations too, but I tend to use a lot of color, a lot of different like bright colors in my
Yeah.
illustrations, and I like focusing on high contrast, high visual contrast, so very bright lights and very dark shadows. And so some of the limitations I think on the cosmetic contest page were that it needed to fit the small like space that the template
Yeah.
showed, because yeah, it was all more, we were supposed to make our illustrations towards the right of the area for the banner in itself. And so the space that I needed to fit the main point of my illustration is very small. And there weren't any really themes that the cosmetic contest limited us to, as long as it had a limited color palette and it fit the very like horror aesthetic. And so I had to work with those limitations to create this illustration. I guess like inspiration wise, like it's just the general, I had to play a lot around with a lot of, I guess, concepts. I had a lot of concepts in mind. I wanted to do one with the sort of survivor scratches. That's what it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Scratch marks.
Yeah, the scratch marks. I had a concept in mind for Wraith. That didn't really end up to be
A ban
anything, and
a banner or a cosmetic.
like yeah, the banners.
Okay.
I wanted to do something more character oriented, but in the end I chose something more general, but something more, I guess, focused, because marionette dolls, I think a lot of people have a fear of dolls and like marionettes, and those were a very common like horror, I guess, object.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Absolutely.
more so than, I guess, theme, I focused more on both visual contrast and contextual contrast. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So while the dolls in the background are sort of hung up on the red string, I wanted to keep the focus on the one doll on the foreground where the string is snapped. That's the sort of area in which I want the most amount of eyes on. And so that's, with the limitations of the banner, that's the direction I chose. If that makes any sense. I'm not sure if I described that well, but
No, it's very apparent from the banner, and I was looking over it again today, like really analyzing it, and that focus of that foreground marionette with the string dangling down, it's kind of reaching, kind of almost towards the player when you're looking at it, or towards the person viewing it,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
paired with the tagline which you have on this mission, once you get a taste of freedom, all you want is more, paired with the title of Aching, just really, I think, brings this piece together really well, of that aching freedom. You have all these, and it just fits the themes of DBD really well, where you have these people, both killers and survivors, stuck in this realm against their will, doing this entity's bidding. It just felt very on brand with DBD, and I want to commend you for that.
That's awesome to hear. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's the sort of like as I was talking about contextual contrast, lifeless dolls versus the one doll that seems to be almost alive, and the sort of title that I chose, Aching, I wanted to kind of hone in on the sort of craving for freedom, like you said. It's something very, I guess, primal to us as human beings. It's something that, like, it's almost like food, like, we crave freedom, we ache for it, we want more of it. Once you get a taste of like some really good food, you want more of it. That's sort of where the title came from and the tagline.
Yeah, it fits so well. I love it. Yeah, you did an exceptional job.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
so so walk me through like your creative process, whether it's with aching or just like a general piece you're working on. What does the ideation look like all the way down to delivery or completion?
So when I start with a painting or a piece, I it's usually like a character piece because my a lot of my illustrations are character focused. Most of the time I come into it with an idea already in mind, but sometimes when I don't have an idea in mind, I usually take a lot of time to sketch out thumbnails, to test out different compositions, but mostly I like focusing on character action, character emotions, and that's where a lot of the compositions of my piece come from. And so there's a lot of testing and a lot of exploration goes into my thumbnail sketches. And then I do this thing in painting where I focus on values first. So I don't do any coloring. For at first I mostly focus on like the blacks and whites and grays. I do value paintings first before adding in color because like I said, I really like
Okay.
focusing on very high contrast in my paintings. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, a lot of value painting, a lot of light exploration goes into the illustration before adding in color, and then I do a couple of more painting passes, a couple more like layers of painting and adjusting light, adjusting the layer effects. I'm not sure if non-artists would know, but there's a lot of layer effects that get put into my drawings, and it's a very
Hmm.
fun process of like polishing it, kind of making it more colorful, making it brighter, or making it darker in some circumstances. And it's a lot of exploration involved all the way until the ending, and it serves as a very fun process. And I learn something every time.
That's awesome to hear. There at the beginning, you mentioned focusing on faces and human emotion. What draws you to that type of creativity and that type of artwork?
Oh, that's a great question. I am I'm a very emotional person at heart. I feel emotions very deeply. I want to understand human emotions more deeply, and that just leads me to focus on human expressions. I guess both like simple, straight to the point. I guess human expressions, how they feel at the moment versus something more complex. I like exploring those kinds of emotions in story, and I want to as I continue to make more illustrations and as I continue to actually develop my own personal project, I'm which is still in the works. I want to focus more on that, on sort of human emotion and encapsulating that in the face.
So when creating, what's your go-to medium? I know you mentioned painting. Do you also do sketching? I'm sure there's a digital element as well to it. What kind of mediums do you like in kind of that realm?
Um, it was sort of a process to learn the kind of medium or the kind of direction and style that I liked doing my artwork with, because my priority is digital illustrations. I do have sketchbooks that I sketch in from time to time, and when it comes to physical mediums or analog mediums, I really like sketching in pen. I really like sketching in like those ballpoint pens.
Hmm.
But when it comes to digital, it was definitely a process trying to find out what my preferred work style is like. Back in school, I did a lot of sort of experimentation with different mediums. I did a lot of sketching with pencil. I did a lot of sketching with pen and ink. I did some paintings in acrylic and oil paints, and that's when I kind of learned that I really liked oil painting and the sort of building up of different values and layers that goes into oil painting, and that's sort of that experience with oil painting is where I took inspiration from it. That's how I sort of work today.
Hmm.
And it's that sort of building up of different layers and values and color.
What would you say was your, and you may have even touched on this earlier, what was your greatest challenge when you were kind of creating the aching banner?
So, like I said before, we were forced into a small space and we had to create the most impactful illustration within that space. That in itself was a challenge. I think the fact that I chose not to do an actual like human character and it's a marionette instead, so there were no facial expressions that I could focus on, and I had to focus mostly on body language. That was another sort of challenge that I had to figure out how to make the dolls in the background look lifeless and like sort of hanging while the foreground marionette is alive. I had to do a lot of testing on how to make that actually work. And also I had to deal with a pretty small time frame because during near the end of that contest, my family and I were actually on a trip. We're actually
Oh,
on a trip up in the mountains, and I forgot to transfer the
oh
um
no.
the file onto my iPad, and so I came back home and I had like 24 hours to finish the piece. And
Wow.
so, yeah,
That's wild.
it, I'm more surprised that I was able to finish the piece in time. I remember there being like at least 3 hours before the contest closed when I submitted my piece. So it was that day was pretty hectic.
Yeah, that it sounds like it came down to the wire. That's crazy. But I mean, that's also so exciting, right? Like, you spend that
Oh
all that
yeah,
time quickly rushing to get it done, and then it ends up being a winner. So that's thrilling.
it's it's kind of insane to think about. Honestly, the chronological turn of events. Of course, not to like toot my own horn or anything. I'm saying it's honestly wild to see how this came down.
Yeah, I also know it's a pretty quick turnaround for the contest because it's only 3 weeks, a month. So it's a pretty, I know a lot of artists take, take time with pieces, especially if you're working on something pretty serious, like a banner. You have those challenges, like, or if you're doing a full cosmetic piece. So it's, I commend everyone who's able to submit something.
Oh yeah, getting especially a cosmetic piece in that time frame is definitely a challenge, especially when you have to think about how that cosmetic will be turned into a real life, not real life, but in-game assets, how to make it look interesting, but how to optimize it so that the creators could actually like put it into the game. And there's a lot of balance that comes into creating those cosmetics that I personally couldn't stomach. But all the cosmetic entries this year were very interesting, and I'm really excited for those artists, and I'm really excited for the artists that did the what was it, the profile pictures. That's
Oh, the
the other
badges. Yes.
illustration one. Yeah, the badges.
Hmm.
That's right, and the other banner entries as well. I'm very excited for those artists. I think we brought out very unique sort of ideas for for the contest. There were a lot of cool ideas brought into the scene, and I'm excited that we had this variety.
Absolutely. What did you say would be the most enjoyable aspect of creating this banner?
When I was focusing on when I was focusing on trying to make this piece as like horror as possible, my I naturally oriented to like I said, high contrast and sort of yeah, the harsh lighting against the very dark shadows and the sort of atmosphere that was building up. I think I enjoyed painting the piece a lot, not just getting the sort of wood texture right on the dolls, but just working with that contrast, the backlighting, the rim lighting around the dolls. That was very fun. And when I added the red light behind all the dolls, that's when I sort of knew that this piece was definitely coming together. It was just the process of adding and building up light that I really enjoyed.
I also love the aspect of, this is just kind of the banners are set up in game, but the way it kind of fades into black from the red and the light really kind of adds to that horror aspect a lot. So
Absolutely.
I really love that addition. So you mentioned you submitted like 3 hours before deadline. Were there any edits or changes that you would make if you could tweak it?
There was actually something I'm not sure if I'm right on this, but doesn't like the player badge show up somewhere around the main area of the banner?
I do. I think, yeah, I actually think it might land around on top of the hand that's reaching out now that you mention it.
I wasn't really aware of that. I'm not sure if that is correlated to the question, but like I didn't really consider that the badge
Hmm.
part of the banner, and so I kind of regret the composition in that sense, but I kind of wish I moved the foreground marionette to fit with the badge better.
Yeah.
But other than that, along the way, I didn't really make any big edits or changes to the composition of the piece. It was more so doing a lot of thumbnail sketches and getting the concept right before getting the actual illustration in, because again, it was a small time frame, so I had to really work with the best idea that I had.
Yeah. Um, I'm not sure if you'll have an answer to this, but are there any like Easter eggs or hidden secrets within the banner that maybe, and if it is a secret, you don't have to tell us, but I'm just curious if there's anything maybe personal you've hidden in there.
Not really, no.
Yeah, no, I didn't think so, but I just wanted to ask because you never know, you never know.
You never know with some of these pieces, but no. I think if anything, I would want people to take a look at the entire piece without the fade out, because I think I'm pretty proud of the marionettes in general. So
Yeah, I love the detail you put into each one having a different pose. Some are strung up like they're falling or almost like if they've been executed. Like the detail there is just it's remarkable, honestly. And can you actually kind of walk me through kind of your decision making on kind of the positions that they're in? Like how did you because there's a large variety. So what were the decisions behind kind of each of those? Not each, but just generally those positions.
I had to majorly be careful of tangents or things. I don't want things to be too overlaid on top of each other, but I had to make sure some of the dolls were more faded out in the background. It's more so for organization purposes, for ease of viewing, just to make sure that every marionette has some spot of focus that people can look at, but at the same time making sure none of them stood out from each other, making sure the foreground doll was as big and as was it most detailed as it could be.
Hmm.
So it was mostly playing with the composition of the main doll as well as just making sure all the other dolls were as visible as possible.
Awesome. Thank you. Um, what would you say to artists or people interested in submitting for next year? What kind of advice would you provide them?
I'm not sure if these cosmetic contests have a theme for each year. I'm pretty sure it's a pretty general, it's open, is it?
Yeah, it's pretty general each year. Yeah.
I would recommend to people to just play around with as many concepts as possible. Like, go deep into the Dead by Daylight lore, look into like horror movies, or just think of just any like horror aspect. And if there's anything that's fun, or if there's anything that's interesting, or if there's anything that has potential, just work with it as best as you can. But be open minded about your concept. Try to think on it, and artists say this every time, and it's difficult to do it as you go into the piece and you try to like work out all the details. But really, it's important to have fun with your concept. Most of all, it's important to be enthusiastic about the idea that you chose, or else it's not going to show in your illustration. But if you have an idea, stick with it, but have fun with it, and make sure you enjoy working on it as you go, because that's really important, especially when you work on a piece for a long period of time.
Amazing. You mentioned horror movies. Do you have favorite horror movies that you like?
Oh, man, I don't have a lot of horror movies off the top of my head. I know I watched a couple before, but there's no titles that come up to my head.
No worries. What DVD lore do you enjoy? Are there specific characters you like, or is it just kind of all over the place?
I think I was last looking at the lore for the unknown.
Yeah.
I remember enjoying Plague a lot too.
Hmm.
Um was it Wraith was one of my friend's favorite characters. Clown was interesting. Trickster. I hope he gets a cosmetic at some point. A cosmetic contest and like entry that
Yeah,
wins.
the
I really hope
finalists for
so. But
the
yeah,
baseball
the
one
baseball
was
was
really
really
good.
cute. But
Hmm.
that aside, uh yeah, I mean it's just general like
Yeah.
favorites.
Yeah, the killer lore is really interesting. You brought up Unknown. Unknown is super, super interesting as a character.
I
Cool.
enjoy looking at Unknown a lot. Looking
Yeah,
at
amazing
his
cosmetics
design
too.
and the cosmetics, yeah.
Hmm. So one final question, and we'll kind of wrap up here. What do you want people to feel when they're looking at aching, whether it's in game or maybe they come across it in your portfolio or whatnot? What do you hope they kind of gain from it or even feel from looking at your piece?
I think I mentioned during the beginning of this of our conversation the whole aching title tagline and the concept behind the illustration to have a very primal, very hunger to it. And I want people to feel the impact of that addicting feeling of freedom or getting what you want. And just like how the doll is sort of tasting that sense of freedom for the first time, I kind of want people to feel that impact of what it's like to finally taste something and want more of it. And I kind of want this might go into more savvy territory, but I kind of want people to feel that sort of motivation and want more of it in whatever their aspirations are. Because that's what I rely on in my sort of life as an artist motivation.
Hmm. Yeah, aspirations is so important. I love that. Great, amazing answer. Thank you for that. Well, Thank you so much, Joy. This was amazing. Thank you for giving me your time and energy. It was amazing conversation. Listeners, you can find Joy on Blue Sky. Where else are you? You want to share any of your other socials or portfolio?
Yeah, so like you said, I'm on Blue Sky as joybalance.bsky.social. I'm also on a site called VGen. VGen's a site where you can commission human artists. It's a site that sort of makes it safe and secure, and the process of commissioning people on VGen is pretty easy. I'm on there as vgen.co/joybalance_arts. And yeah, it's I definitely recommend checking out VGen in general. It's been a great site for artists to create their portfolios and to set up commissions and stuff. But I'm on there on VGen. I'm here on Blue Sky, and that's all I have to shout out on.
Sounds good. We'll also make sure to include those links in the description of the episode. So, listeners, please go check out Joy. Wonderful art. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Joy, so much for your time. This is a wonderful conversation, and we'll see you all in the fog next week.